What's going on, sports fans? Wes Pruitt, 4 Star Sports Media. Hope everyone is doing well. As you can see, John Stark over there to my right. Today is Thursday, November 21st, 2024. We hope everyone is. I'm staying warm. It's a little chilly up here, man. I don't know about where you're at, John, but it's getting cold, brother. It's getting cold. And my little skinny tail don't like cold weather now. So welcome to the show. We got Mike Kershaw from Mississippi College coming on at 9 a.m. to talk a little bit more, give us a little bit more information, insight, whatever word you want to use there, about what took place at Mississippi College. As we talked about it the other day, John, when Mississippi College is dropping the football program and they're going to change their name as well. So we'll get a little more information on that. But, John, let's go ahead and jump into it, man. Let's talk a little NFL, John. So when you look, let's start with a certain team in New York. It has a 4-letter mascot. There's a guy in the crowd that gets up with this fireman's hat on, and he's like, "Oh!" And then they all spell the word Jets. I'm talking about the Jets, right? So, and he does it like 50 times a game. I think his name's like Fireman Joe or something. But what is going on? I mean, last year was brutal. You would think, we all thought that this year was going to be, an improvement. And it's the same dumpster on same fire, except this fire is a little bit bigger. What's your thoughts on the Jets, John?
You mean Aaron Rodgers Jets? Yeah. What a disaster that one is right now. 3-8 on the season. This team very well could have competed in the AFC East this year, other than the Dolphins per se, and this team could have easily maybe won 9 or 10 games based on their defense alone. Because I thought their defense was pretty good as well this season, going into this season. I know you lost some players due to free agency and whatnot, but what a disaster Aaron Rodgers has made it to be. You fired their coach, now you fired the GM. Come on now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely not pretty. I just don't know. I mean, I understand it's New York. I understand it's the NFL. There's guys that have no control, over where they get drafted and such. But I just don't get it, John. I mean, I don't know that it can be fixed right now. I don't. This is the problem that I think we're gonna see trickle down to the next few years before this is taken care of. But when you look around the league, I mean, like tonight, we got action tonight, Thursday Night Football, Prime Video for all you that want to watch. Steelers 8-2 travel to the 2-8 Browns to take on Cleveland. 3.5-point favorite Pittsburgh is. Over under is 36.5. John, what's your thoughts on that game tonight?
I feel bad for James. I mean, first of all, let's give Jameis Winston a little bit of credit, just the way that he's been handling everything.
And his previous seasons are, while they're very confusing, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm surprised by the line just a little bit. But again, I thought the line should be maybe like at 7, maybe. But they are expecting some snow shower / rain in the forecast. Maybe that's why the line's at 3.5, but 38 degrees at kickoff per se as well. But an interesting matchup because you see Pittsburgh not even scoring a touchdown last week against Baltimore. And then, the Browns do have some decent defensive skilled players and whatnot. The key matchup, in my honest opinion, is going to be George Pickens versus the Browns corners as well. And I think that could be an interesting matchup to see a low-scoring affair in that one. I think right now I'll probably do the under, but it won't be as much. I can see the game being like a 20-13 type ball game down in Cleveland tonight.
Yeah. Okay. All right. John, what's going on? Speaking of the other team in New York, 2-8 Giants. That they don't spell their name there. But the 2-8 Giants take on the 4-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Daniel Jones is not the starter. Tommy DeVito is coming out. He used to make pizza pies, and now he's throwing touchdowns. He's throwing bombs, baby. Yeah, but Tommy DeVito is going to be the starter, and he would say this week, "Hey, there's quote no bad blood in the quarterback room." So he wants to dispel any controversy there. 6-point favorite tonight for the
Well,
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Sunday,
Over
but
and under
yeah.
41.5. What'd you say?
I said the game's on Sunday, not tonight. I wish it was.
Oh, sorry, Sunday. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. ESPN bet the matchup predictor 68.9% for Tampa Bay. Hey, that's your boy, man. You love some Baker Mayfield. You are all about you like. I don't mind Baker. He's not a bad quarterback. He did some crazy stuff up here in Fayetteville. If y'all want to go back and just Google Baker Mayfield, Fayetteville, Arkansas. There's a video.
Right.
And then he would tell Paul Feinbaum, Dixon Street, Paul. It'll get you. But Baker Mayfield right now has got 2,500 yards passing, 24 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones coming into this week had 2,000 yards passed, just a little over 2,000 yards passing, 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions on the year. So when you look around the league, man, Cowboys, Commanders, I feel like they play again next week. Don't they play again on Thanksgiving or something? Like, no, I swear they do.
No, it's the Giants and Giants Cowboys. And the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. But hey, interesting stat in this one. Interesting stat in the Buccaneers Giants game. Mike Evans is coming back after a 3-game absence. So that's one reason I think Tampa Bay steamrolls against the Giants. Don't even worry about the point spread in that one. Buccaneers big.
Okay. Lions continue to roll. They're 9-1 as they take on Indianapolis. They travel up to take on the 5-6 Colts. They've got a 7-point. They, being the Lions, have a 7-point advantage. 49.5 is the over/under on that game. And then, John, the one I'm really looking forward to, and we're going to talk about it again tomorrow, but 2 games, really.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals-Seahawks, I think it's going to be a very interesting ball game. And then Ravens-Chargers, man. I'm really excited about this matchup because you know what it is, John. You know, we don't have to talk about who's on the sidelines, right? Who has it better than them? Nobody.
No one.
No way. No. But, I'm saying outside of that, the football game, I'm excited about watching.
We'll talk about it more tomorrow also, but the Eagles-Rams game kind of does excite me as well on Sunday Night Football. Just the way Saquon Barkley is dominating lately against the Rams defense. And, of course, you got Matthew Stafford and whatnot in the gang and Cooper Kupp in the Rams, so that very well could be a sneaky game. Right now, the Eagles are 2.5-point favorites. 48.5 is the over and under in that one. If you're a betting guy in general this week in NFL, good luck to you because there is a lot of toss-up games in general this week.
Yeah, speaking of toss-up games, the Titans and Texans is a real toss-up.
No chance.
I'm just kidding. The Titans are 2-8. They're god-awful. Will Levis is probably going to throw like 2 picks, get sacked 4 times, and, Tony Pollard, honestly, Pollard has not been playing bad. There's other people on the team that have not been playing bad. There's just kind of some odd decisions made. And I was at the beginning of the Callahan era there, and of course this is the beginning, but I was excited about Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know, man. I'm Bill's on the staff,
As
not
the
Bill Belichick.
offensive line coach, though, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
but still, you can't tell me that he can't look at him during a daggum meeting and go, no, we're not doing that. That's not that. You don't need to do that.
I think, as a Titans fan myself, I think I'm more disappointed in Coach Callahan's quarterback decision making, though. That's what I'm more frustrated at the most. I know Will Levis has turned the ball over at times, and he's thrown
Yeah,
some good deep balls at times. But why do you bring him back as your quarterback after him coming back from an injury when you have a veteran quarterback in Mason Rudolph? That's what pisses me off the most about the Titans right now. Nothing against Will Levis, but
yeah,
whenever he comes injured or whatever, he's just out there and saying, "Oh, I'm injured," and he's gonna come back right after the injury bug.
yeah. This is true. This is true. Um, yeah, man. It's the Titans. I don't get it, dude. Like I said, I was very excited about the Callahan acquisition, hire, whatever word you want to use.
We all were.
Initially, yeah, um, initially, but now I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the next topic because we got somebody in the background that is about to come on and give us a little bit of information. Let's bring in Mike Kershaw now, the head coach of Mississippi College. Coach, can you hear us? Okay.
I got you. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. So let's just well, first off, welcome to the show, Sports Buffet, where you always come sit down and get full of sports because it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We appreciate you coming on this morning with us. So I guess let's just start at the beginning, Coach. How did all this kind of be? I mean, how was this planted? And then obviously we know how it ended.
I mean, really, it was pretty quick on our part. We didn't really know anything beforehand. I know there was a board meeting, board of trustees meeting on Monday. And no one, I don't think whole lot of people knew exactly what was on the table. And so, then got a call from IED really right after lunch to come in and meet. Met with told me to get our staff set up and our team set up, and then I met with them and kind of got the news at that point. So that's really that's how quick it happened.
Wow. Um, Jeez. So I mean, I understand this school has a lot of programs on campus, and there's a name change, I guess, happening in 2026. But I mean, you had a football program that was a storied program. I mean, personally, I know numerous guys who have played there, both as young men that I coached in youth football and grown men like myself. So I'm just I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, and I really can't, to be honest with you. Can you give us any insight into maybe their reasoning as to behind this?
I mean, the reasoning obviously is finances, right? In today's day and age, there's a lot of questioning going on in higher education and where the money's coming from, and really, I mean, that's what we were told is, the football program costs a lot of money. I mean, that's there's no lying about that. It's true. I mean, it does cost money. The football program is probably I would imagine the highest expense on campus. And so, in today's day and age where everyone's trying to, every school, not just MC, every school is kind of looking to figure out what may need to be cut or where can we save some money. And when you got a big expenditure on your balance sheet that's, got millions involved in it, then I see that. I mean, not to say I understand it, but I can see where they came from. Hey, we got to cut budgets. We got to cut something. And where's the biggest expenditure? And it's football.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that. Yeah, from a financial standpoint, I mean that does make sense. Coach, we're going to talk about you and your future possibly coming up here shortly, but let's start with what I feel like. And this is no offense to any coach on staff, but I feel like this is just a complete injustice to these kids on in the program that were busting their tail, doing what they're supposed to do. Right, go to school, go to class, compete on the field, do everything at a high level. can you? I mean, I'm not trying to get too personal, but I mean, what was that like having to sit down and have that conversation with young men that you look at like your own sons?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard. I mean, it was hard for me to go in there and tell them. They had that kind of stunned look like, oh, this is not real look on their face when it happened. And, we had 105 guys on our roster this year. Obviously, some of them graduated, but there's a lot of guys on that roster that are now looking for new homes. And that's not something they were expecting to do. It's hard enough to find one scholarship or one place to go find a home to play. Now you got to go do it again. And so that's hard. I mean, if you look at it, if I'm a parent, there's just a lot of questions. Okay, well, why? Where's my son going to go? I mean, that's the biggest question is you need to worry about, okay, what's going to happen to my son? And so that's why myself and my staff are working diligently to try to find homes for these kids, because if that was my son, I would want my coach to do the same thing. And that's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's beautiful. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Coach. I'm looking at your roster right now. I see we all got a lot of D1 transfers, whatnot this year. In general, like for example, you got some players from the University of Memphis. You got players from UTEP. You got players pretty much all over the country, basically. Not only in community college, but in D1 ranks, in the high school ranks as well. Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, I know you're helping these kids out, whatnot. To me, they should have like a 30-day window of wherever they can try to transfer to. But I don't know, is that different in y'all's league as well, or how's that actually can maybe handle?
So with the ending of the program, they're able to talk, like coaches are able to talk to them immediately.
Okay.
So they don't have to wait till the portal window opens up on the 9th. They can already, they're going to jump in the portal, but there's no, like these kids can go take trips. These kids can go and talk to coaches. These kids can do everything they need to. So I guess that's the blessing about this is that they can kind of jump ahead of the portal window that's about to jump out there with 1,500 kids or 2,000 kids that are going to jump in it. Maybe they can kind of be the first ones, and they can, some of these coaching staffs will jump on them, and maybe before they jump on some portal kids. So I guess that's the blessing in disguise that it happened right now. They didn't wait till December 1st or something like that. They were able to get these kids out there immediately. So we've already had multiple staffs from other schools come in our building. I've told them, I was like, hey, come in, you can have my conference room, interview these guys, talk to these guys, give them your pitch about your school. And our kids get to hear that, to get to understand. And I told our kids, is like, look, there's going to be a lot going on, and some kids are going to have more interest than others. And so take your time. And I almost kind of turned into a high school coach at this time. Hey, take your time, figure out what the best fit is for you, because this is going to be you want this to be the last move. You don't want to be a kid that bounces around to 4 different schools. That's tough. So take your time, do the research on the school, do the research on the staff, do the research on the program, obviously, and then try to find out what's going to be the best fit for you.
Coach, I just want to tell you that I'm praying for you and your guys and your coaches and staff as well. I'm looking at your background now, and you've been a winner. Looks like a winner everywhere you've been, especially the Rice days. We know me and Wes know Rice pretty well. Is that the same Rice that was in the Conference USA, or is that a different Rice?
So we were in Conference USA in my last year at Rice. We moved up to the AAC. We didn't have Memphis on the schedule last year, but I know they played them up there this year.
But I just want to let you know that we're praying for you here. I'm praying for you, and keep up the good work. And I'm sure you'll land somewhere pretty quick too. So I just want to let you know how I feel about you.
We appreciate that, and obviously, my family does, and our coaches' families do, and our players do. Right? That's important. I mean, and we've heard that I've got calls from people from all over the damn world, really. Hey, Coach, this is crazy. This is, nobody understands. No one really knows what to say. It's almost like, kind of if somebody passes away, you're like, man, I just don't know what to tell you, but I want to let you know I'm there for you. I kind of tell people, look, this is not, no one passed away. No one died. It's not that serious. I mean, yes, it's serious, but it's not like that where the world's coming to an end. There's going to be better days. And, obviously, just kind of going back through the days as you had the shock phase on Monday, then you had the mad phase on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, well, hell, you better get to work. You better figure out what's going on. I think in today's day and age, a lot of people would take this and curl up and cry in a corner and not want to face what's going on. But guys, we got to go. We got to, I told all our kids, like, you can't sit there and cry about this and just worry about, well, hey, let's figure out the next solution and let's go with it. And so that's our that's our job as coaches, right? Football, that's why we love football, because football resembles life so much. And you know what? This is not something anybody saw. This is not anybody expected, but it happened. And so there's nothing we can do about it. And so now we got to figure this out, and we got to go forward. And I'll figure out what I'm going to do. My coaches will figure out what they're going to do, and our players will too. And is it a stressful time? Absolutely. But let's face this head on and let's go and see what we can do.
Coach, I know you were at Delta State back in the day. Were you there when Coach Todd Knight was there as well?
I was. So Todd Knight was actually my coach. So I played there from, I guess it was 96 to 99. Todd Knight was my coach. And then when he left to go to Ouachita, we had another coach come in, and then I was done playing and actually came back and GA'd there. So I know Coach Knight was one of my, right when I got this job, or even before I got this job, he was one of the guys I called and be like, hey, coming back to D2, I think, give me some advice, tell me what I need to do. I would call him about a ton of different things. So he was a great resource for me. And probably, I know he'll deny this, but probably the best man I've ever been around. He is unbelievable. This guy is, top notch, will do anything for you. I know he probably hated me as a kid. As a player, I was one of those punk quarterbacks that thought they knew everything. And he's like, oh no, I enjoyed it. I was like, no, I know you didn't. I know you didn't. You ain't gonna lie to me. I know you didn't enjoy my time there. I was one of those kids that knew everything too much, right? I was that quarterback that thought I knew everything, and he was our quarterback coach. But we won our first ever conference championship at Delta State with him. He built it and then came over there to Ouachita and's done an amazing job, obviously. That guy is a great human being.
Yeah, we actually recently started covering the GAC this year, and we were at the Battle of the Ravine a couple years back, and that really opened our eyes to not only D2 football, but D2 football in the state of Arkansas specifically. So we started getting into the GAC, and we had a chance to talk to Coach Knight preseason. And I mean, I've talked to a few of his players, a few of his former players as well, and I mean, they echo everything you just said about the guy. But did you happen to reach out to him with any of this to try to get maybe some advice or anything like that?
Yeah, he called me. Him and about, again, 600 other people probably had called me. And for him, he's like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. There is no blueprint for this. And so, again, we just got to, talk to him, and he's the same thing. Hey guys, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your players, and he's now one of those guys like, all right, who could play for me? And I know a lot of coaches are kind of coming in like, hey coach, I'm sorry, but this is going on. But you got to put your coach's hat on too. Well, do you have any players that can help me? And I would have done the same thing is, hey, I'm going to call you and can tell you we love you and that we're going to pray for you. But you got any players that can play on my roster? And that's what everybody's kind of second question is. And that's what we're doing. I've sent him probably 6 or 7 guys they need to evaluate and look at. And I know a lot of those guys on that staff. So I think they trust what I got to say. I'm not gonna send anybody someplace where they can't play, because that's not fair to the people I'm sending them to, or the kids that are going there. I don't want a kid to go there. He was a starter for me, and I send him someplace where I know he can't play, and now he's going to be a backup. So I want to make sure that I place these guys, and they go to places that are going to put their arms around them and welcome to the program and get them a chance to play ball.
Coach, just a couple more questions for you. Once again, we appreciate you coming on this morning. Now let's talk about a little bit about you and your staff. I mean, we understand it's a relocation process for the players, but it's, like we talked about, it's also the same way for you. I mean, I'm not trying to give any, breaking news out there, but, what has the process have been like for you guys? And, I mean, it's almost like you're back in high school going and being recruited by teams now too, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, for me, I've kind of pushed myself back to the back burner. I really want to take care of everybody else. I'm talking to my coaches. Hey, who can I call for you? I've talked to some coaches who are talking about our players. I'm like, look, we got good players. We also got amazing coaches. And so I think we've got maybe a couple of landing spots already for some of our coaches, which is great, which again, that makes me feel better because I kind of feel responsible, right? Because you bring them here. You brought them here from, we had guys that came from Liberty, 2 guys that came from Liberty. We got a guy that came from Texas. We had, a guy that came from, from South Alabama down on the coast. And so, I brought them here. So regardless of what the decision was made, I want to make sure that they can find a place to go. And so for me, I'm not worried about myself right now. I can worry about that later. I really want to make sure that, the guys that I brought in have some places to go. And I think we're getting there. I told the coach the other day, I got probably one of the best defense coordinators I've ever been around. I mean, he is a young guy. This was his first chance. Will Peruta. It was his first chance to call the defense, and he did an amazing job. And the offense put him in a lot of really bad situations, and they battled back. And the players absolutely love that guy, and the defensive staff did a really, really good job. And we got some really good. Division II, you got a lot of young coaches, and so we want to get those guys in some places where they can grow as players, and to make sure that they're happy and they're okay. And then I'll worry about myself later. I mean, I'll be okay. I've got a great wife, I've got a great kid, 2 great kids, and it's just one of those deals. It's like, something will pop, and we'll worry about that on another day. But let me worry about everyone else first, and then we'll take care of myself.
Coach, I have to say that is an incredible answer, and it really, I think it speaks to who you are, a football coach, and it also speaks to guys like Coach Todd Knight and others that have influenced you along the way. And I think any of your staff would probably echo that same sentiment. Coach, last question for you before I give you a chance to promote yourself and your players with social media and such. What is this whole lesson taught Mike Kershaw, not football coach, but as a man?
That's a good one. No one's actually asked that one yet. You know what? Again, it kind of goes to life, right? Football is the biggest deal. It mirrors life, and regardless if you're a football coach, or if you're a CEO, or if you're a middle manager, if you're working on the rigs, like your job may be taken away unexpectedly, and so you can do 2 things. You can sit there and cower and cry and not face the trauma, or you can figure it out. And you gotta go and like, all right, let's re-game plan this deal. We got to make some adjustments at halftime here because our game plan didn't work. And so we got to go out there, figure this one out. Things happen for a reason. I really do believe that. Things do happen for a reason. And what that reason is, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I don't think one person or one entity has the answer to that, and that's a lot higher than I am. And so we'll just go from there. We'll figure it out. I know that my family's going to be okay. I want to make sure that our players and our coaches are okay, and then we'll go from it. And we'll look back on this and be like, man, that kind of sucked, but hey, we all came out of that maybe even better than we are right now, right? You just don't know, and so you don't know what's coming in the future. Live your life day to day and enjoy every second of it. Because you tell players all the time, hey, play every play like it's your last snap. And, maybe for some of these kids, it may be their last snap. So you just don't know. And so it's kind of cliche. It's coaches talk to do that, but that's real life, is live every single day. Every day you wake up, live your best life and do everything you possibly can do. And because you just don't ever know what's going to happen next.
Amen on that, Coach. Amen on that. And Coach, we want to get you back on during the football season too, to talk ball, not just Mississippi College specifically, if you have availability. But all right, Coach, now it's your chance to promote yourself on social media, but also a chance to shout out your players, and kind of help coaches and people that may hear this find you and find them.
So my Twitter handle is Coach M Kershaw. And if you're a coach out there, if you're trying to look for players, I've pinned tweeted all our players' information. And so they've got their height, weight, hometown, classification, their Twitter handle, their phone numbers. So you can go on that list. And a lot of them, if you go on their Twitter handles, they already have their highlights up, right? So if you're trying to look, if you're again, anywhere from, I think we got anywhere from FCS guys all the way down to NAI guys. And so if you're a coach on any of those teams, go back and look in that list and just kind of go through it and scan it and take some time and do some research. You got numbers for these kids. And again, we've had coaches already come through the building. And so some coaches already got a jump start on these guys, and they already got some offers out there, and our guys are planning trips because just like anyone else, they want to move on to the next thing too. They want to figure this out. They don't want to hang out in this kind of la land right now. They want to find a new home because they want to get there in the spring. And so go to that list, find that out. And then again, if you have any questions on any of our guys, my number's out there too. call me directly. My number one priority right now is to try to find homes for those guys. So I'll take the time, and you may not be the only guy calling me, and so I'll call you back, or one of my staff members will call you back, and that's exactly what we want to do right now. Regardless of what happened with the program, I feel sorry for the guys that went through this program, they're alumni of this program. But again, it is what it is. This is not my fight anymore. I know a lot of people are continuing to fight this thing, but this is not my fight anymore. And so my fight is to get my guys and my coaches placed.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you carving out some time for us this morning to just bring more insight into not only this situation, but more importantly, bring more insight into everything else that has been transpiring, both as team and coaches for that matter. So we appreciate you carving out some time for us.
Absolutely, guys. Anytime.
Thanks, Coach.
Mike Kershaw has joined us. Man, John, incredible stuff there from Coach Kershaw. As what a wild situation. I mean, the more I just sit here and just listen to what he just said, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, John?
First of all, let me say I'm speechless, in other words, regarding this matter. That's why I really didn't want to speak up on this matter that much, because I can see where it does hurt schools in general, like a Mississippi College, because of their history, whatnot. It goes way back to like the early 1900s, 1940s, whatnot as well. And I just hate to see a school like this fall apart. I mean, we're talking about kids and husbands and role models and everything you think of regarding a program like this right now. And I was just looking at the roster once again, and I'm like, gosh, there's so many players that have that background where they could definitely make an impact on the future team because of their, they've been at different community colleges and D1 levels and whatnot. But wow, I'm just like looking at the roster. You got one player from UTEP that lives in San Jose. Well, his hometown is from San Jose, California. You got players from like Florida. You got players from all over the country that are getting impacted by this. And you also get some, like you brought up, you also got some local talent here from the Memphis area as well on that roster. So just prayers to the kids and coaching, and we're here for you if y'all ever need us. And we'll definitely be glad to share your videos on our platform as well.
Oh yeah, 100%, man, 100%. We'll definitely get. We will actually. I'm planning on going in and resharing or retweeting Coach's pin tweet as well, just to help get the news out there a little bit more for these guys. But man, I have to be brutally honest with you, John. I was extremely impressed with Coach Kershaw and his poise and his, honestly, man, he has a confidence about him with this entire situation. And that really just tells me that as a football coach, he's prepared in every aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, your boss calls you in like, hey man, sorry, we're disbanding the football program. I mean, like I asked him, I mean, he put himself on the back burner, like he just said. He put himself on the back burner and put everyone else in front of him. That's a football coach,
right?
But that's also a husband. You know what I mean? That's also a father. I mean, it's. I was extremely impressed. Really, really glad that he carved out some time for us to come on this morning. And man, just a wild story out of Mississippi College. But John, let's jump over to college football, man. We got a couple of topics to go through. Let's start with the college football rankings, John.
You're the ladder of Blake Falcon.
No.
I know. I'm just being a sarcastic moment, but
So, number 2, Ohio State. Number 5, Indiana. 11 a.m. kickoff on Fox.
Big noon kickoff.
Excuse my language, but how in the hell is Ohio State a 13.5-point favorite over an undefeated? Look, I understand SEC fans are going, they ain't played nobody. Well, guess what? They can't control their schedule like that. It's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, I understand that SEC team's strength of schedule is really high. It's because of who's in your conference. Go look at your out of conference strength of schedule and come back to me.
I have no
But-
idea. I thought the line would be at 10.5. To be honest with you, I know it's not by
Yeah, I
much.
was thinking like 7 to 10, honestly. I mean, that one threw me out. Now, the over-under, I'm fine with that. 51.5, no
Mhm.
problem. That's fine. I mean, hell, John, the Ole Miss Florida line is only 10.
Which I thought that was going to be 7.5 or 8. To be honest with you.
I thought it'd be like more.
Well, let's be real. The way that Florida's defense is playing a lot better, and the way they beat LSU and dominated LSU's offense, that's
Very
why the line very well could be at 10. But to answer your question about the Indiana-Ohio State game, I think it's going to come down to Indiana's defensive line and defensive front and defensive linebackers. If they can put pressure on the quarterback playing Ohio State like they have been pretty much all season long, I think they could very well go into Columbus and beat them. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not going to do no prediction on it, but I'm just talking about in general because the way their defense has been playing. I know people want to say, well, they haven't played nobody, but still, when you have 30-something sacks through 10 ball games, and last year you only had like 27 through 12 games, I believe it was. So very well could be an interesting game in Columbus, but also it'll be interesting to see who wins that time of possession in that game as well. That's one of our key stats and whatnot. But if I'm Indiana, I'm going to do like a 7-minute drive and get that ball first and take my sweet little time on offense.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep them off the field. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I know today's Thursday's show, but I'll go ahead and say it now. Give me Arizona State to beat BYU this week at home, 2:30 ESPN. Your boy's going to be on the tube watching that one.
Hey,
Give me the Sun Devils to knock off BYU and place themselves in position for a CFP. This team was picked to finish dead last in the Big 12. You know how many teams in the Big 12? 16.
How many? 1-6? That's right.
1-6. And I have, you know what? I'll say it too. Kudos to Colorado. Number 16 in the country, 8-2. I predicted them to win 4 games this year. I was wrong.
I was wrong.
And they're in position to play for a Big 12 championship and potentially a college football playoff appearance.
Well, I agreed on that Arizona State BYU game. The way that Arizona State's running the ball and the way that their quarterback play as well has definitely progressed throughout the year as well. Like you said, predicted to finish last in the Big 12. Dillingham is a defensive guy for a reason, and he's also a head coach for a reason.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't be surprised if
Jump over to
Kansas. Don't be surprised if Kansas though gives Colorado a game though with being in the Arrowhead.
That game's at Arrowhead too. That's going to be a wild environment.
Sold out. I'm going to call it now too.
Oh, 100%, no doubt.
Man,
let's jump over to the
forecast.
Yeah, true. It is cold up here though. Let's jump over to the American real quick.
Okay.
I want to talk about a game that's taking place down in Denton, Texas. And this is odd, John, because 5-5 North Texas. Over under on this game 72.5, by the way. Yeah. 2:30 ESPN plus.
Should be on ESPN.
East Carolina comes in at 6-4 after firing their coach. They fire their coach and they win 3 straight games. I love it. They have a chance to win 7 games, and they fired Mike Houston. I mean, let's just be honest. If you're Mike Houston, you got to be a little bit pissed right now.
Especially the way their offense is clicking. Absolutely.
Oh man, this is what I expected to see with Mike Houston at the helm.
Right.
He came from James Madison, if I remember correctly, right?
Mike Houston.
Pretty positive he came from James Madison. Or Sam Houston State. It was one of those two. But East Carolina has a chance to go 7. It'd be 7-4. And at the same time, North Texas is fighting. Huh?
You're right. James Madison, it is correct.
Yeah. But at the same time, you look at North Texas and they're fighting for bowl eligibility. So, I mean, this game, that game has a lot riding on it. Speaking of bowl eligibility, or in the American.
North Texas wins straight up.
Really? You think so?
I hope so, to be honest with you. Just the way that the offense needs to be basically clicking on all cylinders, because they've been turning the ball over a lot lately down in North Texas and just doing turnovers on downs at the wrong time. But their defense definitely has gotten a little bit better in North Texas also. But I think it would just be fun to see a North Texas team being bowl eligible under their young football team and their quarterback playing Morris as well. So let's go ahead and give them 6 wins.
He's the number 3 ranked quarterback in the country.
3,328 passing yards, Wes.
For everybody that wants to trash this kid because of who his dad is, he is the number 3 quarterback in the nation. And everybody was like, he went to North Texas. Look at him. He's number 3 quarterback in the nation. I love people that trash kids when they go to schools and then that kid just shows out. I absolutely love it. Also, have to throw this stat in there too, John. Speaking of the American, the University of Memphis is the only team in the nation with a top 10 passer in Seth Hennigan and rusher in Mario Anderson.
But people want to bash.
And if you don't believe me, you can go look it up because I promise you I'm right.
But people
promise you I'm right.
Man, you made up a great point regarding Morris and his dad and whatnot. But the thing is, people want to bash the American Conference in general.
100%.
But we talked about this. Other than we thought we had some good coaches, in this conference. Although 2 of them got fired, whatnot. This
5.
Week. Well, no, 2. Coaches got fired this week.
Yeah.
We know. To me personally, this day and age, you got to give a team in the American for a head coach at least 3 years, in general. And I really think from top to bottom, this conference, we talked about the quarterback play in general the last 2 years in general in this conference. The quarterback play is top notch from top to bottom as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get down to Temple and there's talent there, but the level of play is not where it needs to be.
They missed the quarterback.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I mean, let's be honest here, man. Chandler Morris is a dog. That quarterback from Charlotte has got some fight to him.
Mm-hmm. True freshman.
East Carolina's got a tough quarterback. South Florida's got like seemingly 5 tough quarterbacks. I feel like they start a different guy every week. I mean, let's just talk about it, John. Does it get tougher than the Army quarterback? Then you got Horvath at Navy. That kid's tough as nails. Then you bring in the only quarterback in the nation to start, the only 4-year starter to start for all 4 years for the same school, and that's Seth Hennigan at Memphis. Which, by the way, I'll go ahead and make the statement now. And we are 45 minutes and 6 seconds into the show. If you want to write that down, John. I'll go ahead and say it now. Seth Hennigan will be the last quarterback at the FBS level to go all 4 years for the same school and be a starter. Let me put that in there. He will be the last 4-year starter to do it all at the same school. This is the end. This is the last of that run. What's your thoughts on that, John?
You said it, so that's good. That's good.
Oh, okay. You don't want to get tied into it. I got you.
No,
all right, man, let's go ahead and just. Huh?
You made some good points. So it's just hard to, this day and age, you just don't see that very often. Like, for example, if you
And I
see,
mean, it's done.
for this day and age, for example, if they're not happy, in general these days, they're just going to transfer out, bottom line.
That's it. But then you throw in NIL, and that's a whole nother factor in it. All right, man. NBC on the cock. Yes, I'm talking about Peacock, folks. Don't go crazy. Number 19, 9-0 Army, who I had in my TFP rankings this week because they deserve to be there. That's all I got to say. They're undefeated. They're one of 3 teams in the country now that's undefeated. Traveling to number 6, Notre Dame. Shout out former guest as well. John, we had this discussion earlier in the season when Navy played Notre Dame, and the discussion was, they're undefeated. Can they go in and do it? Can they knock them off? John, I don't know that that Notre Dame, they're catching Army at a bad time. But at the same time, could Army be catching Notre Dame at a bad time as well? Meaning Notre Dame's playing really good football right now?
Mixture of both. I could definitely see that because
I think this is going to be a hell of a football game. A hell of a game.
And what's the over and under for that one?
The over-under is 44.5. Notre Dame is a 14.5 point favorite, which makes no sense whatsoever to me.
Army will cover that.
Army will cover that with ease, and I'll go ahead and say it now. Give me Army to get the dub.
A lot of people.
Give me Army to shake it up a little bit, and screw some rankings up. I'm telling you right now, Army goes in there and gets the win.
Army, I think, is coming off a bye week too, so that definitely does help the Army Black Knights, and I also think the home field. I'm not saying the home field advantage. Well, okay, the Army's located in New York. The game's in New York in Bronx on Yankee State in the Yankee Stadium. So, like you said, I'm gonna go ahead and do this also. I'm gonna go ahead and do Army over Notre Dame, like 27-24. Something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking like a 31-28. I was in the same ballpark, 3 points. John, real quick before we jump over to college basketball, man. Before the season started, if you would have told me that when LSU and Vanderbilt played this year, they would both be 6-4. Well, on the Vanderbilt side, I would have told you you're probably right because I predicted them to win 7 games.
I had them,
but
3-9.
On the LSU side, I would have not told you this team would have been 6-4. 645 on the SEC network. LSU is only an 8-point favorite over Vanderbilt. I'm going to go clip that because I don't know when the last time that's ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
Over under is 53.5. John, I predicted them to go win 7 games this year. I predicted them to beat Tennessee next week. But could Vanderbilt go on the road at night to Baton Rouge and shock the Tigers?
Very well could, because you know why, right? The dual threat quarterback.
Diego Pavia.
The dual threat quarterback play. LSU always struggles with dual threat quarterbacks. Yeah, his numbers might not be averaging 100 yards rushing in the rushing department, but he still can give you at least 50 to 80 yards on that ground game.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be surprised if Vanderbilt does go in the LSU and beat LSU. But the thing that concerns me about Vanderbilt in this game is also you got to remember they got to get turnovers. They have to get the turnovers and get some interceptions and put pressure on LSU's quarterback like other teams has done all season long, especially when Florida did it last week. In Gainesville against LSU. But an interesting stat in this one: can you name the player that has played those for both LSU and now Vanderbilt, going back to Baton Rouge?
No, I can't.
Well, he played at the University of Memphis for a little bit, but he also ended up
Parrish?
Maurice Hampton.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Peter
No,
Parrish.
no, but Maurice Hampton.
I
Yeah.
forgot about Maurice.
So Maurice Hampton now is at currently Vanderbilt, and he has 10 tackles on the season.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, man. Let's jump over to college basketball before we do our list. Once again, we really appreciate Mike Kershaw for taking time today to come on with us, man. Incredible stuff, John. I want to talk about a game tonight. It's on ESPNU.
Mm-hmm.
Tips off at 9 p.m. from the Chase Center.
Bum, bum, bum.
And that's Memphis and San Francisco. Both teams coming undefeated. The Dons, San Francisco Dons, come in 4-0. Memphis comes in 3-0. The Tigers made a big statement, John, with the last win over Ohio, 94-70. They scored 51 points in the second half and set a program record from behind the arc, 72.2% shooting. Haggerty had 23. Hunter had 21. Nicholas Jourdain had 15. They led the team with 10 to 13 3-point field goals made. The Tigers would finish the game over 55% from the field and 5 of 6 of 3 in the last 20 minutes. History, this is only going to be the Tigers and Dons have only met twice before. Memphis won both games. The most recent meeting came, do you know when the most recent meeting came, John? It was 1994.
Oh, I said
1994.
Wow.
Yep. 94. Tigers won 94-82, with the game being in Memphis. This will be the first time that the Tigers will jet out to the West Coast to play in San Francisco. Now, as we know, this is going to begin what is going to be a brutal stretch for Memphis, as they have a tough game against San Francisco. Then they turn around and go to the Maui for a week-long road trip in Hawaii. But when you look at the Dons, man, they came in, they're, like I said, 4-0, big-time win over Chicago State, 82-37, most recently. Tyrone Riley, the fourth, led the charge for the Dons, 28 points, and he made 5 of 6 from deep. They also being San Francisco, forced 24 turnovers while holding them to 16% shooting from the field. Riley also led the team with 19 points. He leads the team with 19 points per game. Malik Thomas has 15.5 points per game, and Marcus Williams has 13.5. And also, Newberry has 10. So think about that, John. They've got 4 guys that are all averaging double figures for this basketball team. If you're Penny and you're Memphis tonight, you got to focus on the whole roster. You can't just single one guy out. Obviously, the Dons have to do the same for Memphis with the added roster and the added, there's a few different guys that can go off for points. But tough matchup tonight for the Tigers. How do you see this game going tonight? And give me a couple keys for Memphis to get a win. You're on mute, by the way.
Memphis was predicted to be a 1.5 point favorite going into this week in this game in general. Now they're a 1.5 point underdog going into this matchup. The point spread has definitely moved a little bit, I guess, because the home court advantage. Well, the game's being played in San Francisco / Oakland, so that's one reason I guess the point spread might have moved just a little bit. But it's a good matchup. I think, like Coach Hardaway said, you don't really see a team like this on the schedule year in, year out. And to me, they're in a good league. And they're in the same league with Pacific, Gonzaga, and then others. I might add that as well. So I like this matchup, to be honest with you. I think, to be honest with you, you can probably see a home and home type game maybe down the road in this game, because right now Gonzaga is not on the schedule anymore. So very well could see a home and home in this matchup. But some keys in this game, like you brought up, the Tigers better defend, because this team can definitely score some points. Also, the thing that concerns me maybe a little bit early on so far in the season is offensive rebounds for the Tigers. They're giving up a little bit on the offensive rebounds as well, but they're going to defend. They they got a good win over Boise State, so that's a good resume win for San Francisco early on in the season. So you got to defend. I think you also got to make your free throws, and I also think don't rely on the three ball so early into the game as well. Just be patient, pass the ball around, and Haggerty just be himself and just don't turn the ball over, and we'll have a good game in general.
Yeah, I mean Haggerty. Speaking of Haggerty, he actually leads the American Athletic Conference and ranks 7th in Division I right now with 25.7 points per game. And you bring up a good point about Haggerty, but you also want to take two of your points in time together. So you talked about the 3-point shot, but you also talked about Haggerty, right? So I think these things kind of coexist. So you need Haggerty to play well, but you also need the offense to have flow. But if you can just get the 3-point shots into the flow of the offense and it's not forced, I think this team can continue to play well. Now, shot selection earlier in the season was very, very, very suspect for this team. Now, obviously, last game it was better. But I want to see Memphis my key is this: play a whole game. I want to see Memphis put a whole two halves together. Entirely too often this season, you've seen Memphis struggle in the first half. In the second half, they've come out and played better, obviously got the win, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about this, John. Memphis has scored in the second half in each of its 3 games at least 50 points. They scored 51 against Missouri, 50 against UNLV, and 51 against Ohio in the second half. Now, yes, I'm not saying that's a great number, right? That's incredible. Great stuff. I mean, considering Memphis only returned 8.1% of its scoring production from last season, I love it, right? I love to see the production on offense, but I want to see this throughout the game. I want to see throughout the game this team play together as one, and I think if they can do that, they can win not only tonight against San Francisco, they can go into Maui, and they've got tough competition there. I mean, first off, you got the defending national champion, UConn Huskies, game 1. So, I mean, right now they do lead the nation in 3-point shooting, 49.1%, they being Memphis. But yeah, shot selection I think is a huge key.
Mm-hmm.
Foul trouble I think is going to be another massive key in this game. And then just playing for the duration is, I think, going to be a massive, massive thing.
Also want to say this real quick. If you can have, we know Haggerty's going to get his points. So if you can have Haggerty's do 10 plus points this game, if you can have Tyrese Hunter score 10 plus points in this game, if you can have Musa Cisse maybe give you like 8 to 10 points and maybe like 8 to 10 rebounds. Nick Jourdain, same thing regarding rebounds and points. I think this very well could be a good win in the long run on your resume.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. It's time to jump over to the list real quick to close the show. We appreciate everybody watching and listening. As always, we appreciate John Sturdivant coming on, bringing great insight as he does each and every week. And then you got to give a shout out to Mike Kershaw as well, man. Great stuff from Coach. Really, really want to try to reach back out to him later on, too, and get him back on and talk ball, because sounds like to me the guy's got a plethora of knowledge. So top 5 group of 5 football programs of the last 40 years.
We're showing our age a little bit here.
We are. You mean to do mine first, John?
Yeah, go ahead. I gotta get my notes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Number 5 was Boise State. 1999.
Gotta look that one up.
Number 4. Tulane. 1998.
God, I forgot about that one.
Sean King.
God, how could I forget?
They were undefeated. They should have played for a national championship, and yet they didn't.
They played in Autos and
I'll let
Liberty
that
that
just
year.
marinate. I'm not going to mention any specific teams there. I'll just let that marinate.
They played in Liberty Bowl that year.
Yeah, in a heck of a game. Heck of a game. Number 3 was tough, man. It was really tough. But I had to go with the 2019 Memphis Tigers. Everybody, like, you didn't put them number 1. No, I didn't. I mean, think about it, man. They were. I mean, just think about how good they were.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's really quite impressive.
And had to
And
change.
by the way, I said Boise State 98. I apologize for it. 2009 was Boise State.
Okay.
But because let's not forget, they beat a nationally ranked Oregon team in their home opener that year. They beat TCU in the Fiesta Bowl.
Wrong.
And they also made it the first 2 non-BCS teams playing a BCS Bowl. Let's think back, John, to a Louisville team back in the 90s. Those teams were talented.
Dang, they did win every single ball game that year too. Wow.
What, Tulane?
No, I'm talking about Tulane and Boise.
Yeah. That was a wild year, man. That was a wild year. And then my top team, I mean, you got to go back. It takes you back a little bit. But the Toledo Rockets in 1995.
Toledo Rockets.
Now, I'm showing my age with the teams I put on that list. I only put a couple teams that were from the 2000s.
Okay, 11-0-1 for that team in Toledo. Okay, I see you.
Yep. So it did take a little digging. I'm not gonna lie. It took a little digging, took a little thinking. But really I enjoyed it because I got to kind of think back on college football over the last 40 seasons, which is insane to think about. What's yours, man?
Or just playing NCAA football on the PC back then. Because I remember playing that game back in the day too. But yeah. Number 5, I'm gonna do Marshall 2014 season where they finished the year 13-1 on the season. Remember who their football coach was back then?
I should know, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Mr. Holiday.
Oh yeah, Doc.
you know. Number 4, we had a guest on there on our show yesterday, Charles. He brought up the 2012 Arkansas State football team. So I'll bring up them. They finished the year 10-3, but like he said, they had some NFL stars on that team with Demario Davis, who now plays for New Orleans Saints, whatnot as well. So that's my number 4 team. My number 3 team is the Appalachian State team in 2007 when they went into the big house and blocked that field goal and won the game. That was a special year for them. My number 2 team is going to be the Memphis Tigers, the 2019 team. For them just to compete in that Cotton Bowl without their head coach, Mike Norvell, and the other coaches that were gone as well, and you had a shot, and then your quarterback just made a dumb decision at the wrong time. And we just,
you got to think too, man. Joey
Yeah.
was out that game too.
yeah,
Joe. I mean, we had a few guys out. So,
just to compete in
and they
that game.
to your point, yeah, they did. They competed the entire game.
They played their hearts out in that game. So that's my number 2 team. My number 1, you brought up Boise State team up, but I'm gonna go a different year. I'm gonna do 2007 on you when they went into play Oklahoma and did the Statue of Liberty and the hook and ladder.
Beautiful play call.
Oh my gosh! Like Bob Stoops is over there, like they're going for 2, they're going for the win. What what am my defense going to have to do to stop them? Whatnot. And of course, you saw engagement happen right after the game with Ian Johnson proposing to his Boise State cheerleader girlfriend of his. So that's my number 1 team.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Nah, of course, I talked about what the 2008 team, I guess, is what it was. That's what I mentioned. But no, man, I really enjoy these lists every show or every week. Like I said, some of them are a little difficult. Some of them take a little time. Some of them take a little research. But that's what it's all about. So, man, whole plate full of sports today, man. Whole plate full of sports as we talked a plethora of things, including Mississippi College. And that, I mean, I really can't stress about how crazy that story really, really is to me. But we appreciate Mike Kershaw coming on and talking ball. We appreciate you guys. We're growing in every aspect of things. Our social medias are all growing. Facebook, YouTube for sure. X as well is growing. We're right at 1,400 followers there. But we're also growing as far as with the Hogs a little bit, John, as we announced yesterday that we will be partnering with Hogs Media as our official recruiting team. And we will be partnering with them, featuring them in articles, featuring them on shows like this show as well. But you'll see them a lot on Hogs Happy Hour with Blake and Ashton and the guys as they'll be talking Hogs as we're growing the Arkansas side a little bit, man. Trying to branch out a little bit on the Arkansas side of things as these guys do an incredible job with recruiting on basketball, football, baseball, and more. So we just want to welcome Hogs Media to the fold. So for John Sturdivant, I am Wes Pruitt. All of us here at 4-Star Sports Media, we appreciate everybody watching and listening. And as always, folks, stay classy.